I never played Pokemon as a kid. Well, okay, that title is a little bit of a lie. Growing up, I was always interested in Pokemon, but had no means of playing it. I obviously played Smash Brothers growing up, but I couldn't really identify any Pokemon aside from Pikachu, Snorlax, Puffy, that's not Puffy, and Jigglypuff. To this day, Metagross is still Pit Droid in my head. See, it sounds like he says Pit Droid, okay? So I've called him Pit Droid my entire life. However, I owned and played so many Pokemon spin-off games. Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Rumble World, and of course, the infamous Pokemon Go, which was so rampant that my driver's ed school changed their curriculum to spend an entire day just telling kids to not play Pokemon Go while driving. Joke's on them, you can just play it in the back seat. And I maybe did that while the other 15-year-olds were driving with the instructor. Heck, I even played the card game against kids in my elementary school for keepsies, only to throw out probably very expensive Pokemon cards years later because I didn't think I needed them. Oh, I regret that so much. Gosh, those kids probably should have kept those cards. I was an evil child for throwing those out. When I say I didn't play Pokemon as a kid, what I mean is I never took on one of the mainline games. I was always so busy playing other video games, and nobody in my family was really interested in the series, which meant I either had to go it alone, or just focus on the other great Nintendo franchises out there. Obviously, I chose to avoid it. Until I couldn't avoid it any longer. One random day back in 2022, I was gifted Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. No, it wasn't my birthday, and no, it wasn't Christmas. My friend insisted I just needed to try out a Pokemon game as soon as possible so that I could become obsessed like everyone else. Well, they were right. It is a good series. Despite my vast knowledge of the spin-off games, when it came to actual Pokemon battling and like the mainline games, I knew literally nothing. I knew there were type matchups, but I had no idea what game was good, what the stats meant, what was so special about those shiny ones, how to tell the difference between Eevee and Eevee, and why people would play these games competitively. So thank goodness I had a mentor with me, otherwise I probably would have gotten very overwhelmed. At this point, I have played 5 Pokemon titles. Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, Black, Fire Red, Shining Pearl, and Scarlet. And they were all terrific in their own way. Let's take you through the journey. Boot up your Pokemon game, choose your starter, and off you go! I know fans probably don't like me saying this, but a lot of these games are very similar, at least to start out with. You're a kid, ready to embark on your Pokemon adventure with your single mom, little starter, and some sort of rival to fight alongside you. You set out on your own adventure. Catch Pokemon along the way, build up your team, you take on the game's unique, evil team, and fight the ultimate bad guy. Oh yeah, and you fight in 8 uniquely typed gyms and take on the Elite Four and the Pokemon Champion to become the champion yourself. Forgot about that part. There are 18 Pokemon types. No, I do not have them memorized still, or what's good against what's super effective, what's neutral, even after playing multiple games at this point. Pokemon Alpha Sapphire is probably the easiest title I played, which is good because it was also my first. Combine that with a friend who was determined for me to like the game, and it meant I got a kick-butt team. I chose Mudkip as my starter, and named him Chomps, because I always wanted a water type. Then, along the way, I met a bird named Calry, Screama the Loudred, Helga the Camerupt. Oh, wait, I just got the pun in that name. It's a camel that can erupt. And a Gardevoir named Angel. Because I also recognize that Pokemon from Smash Bros. It's the, Gogolo, and then she... But by far my favorite Pokemon was Breloom. He was very good at teaching me that he is weak to flying, because he was a fighting grass type, and they're both weak to flying. Honestly, I kind of love 4 times weaknesses for that exact reason. It was really good at trying to teach me the types early on, and very good for my friend, who was probably very frustrated that I still can't remember these. By the way, Breloom is still my favorite Pokemon. My rival in this game was Brendan. pretty average Joe who was very nice and encouraged me to become the champion of the area. Apparently, the female version is way more annoying to have as a rival, May. I guess I dodged a bullet by picking the female character. I think this storyline was also probably one of the weaker ones, with the Delta episode postgame part being the exception. Like, holy crap, Rayquaza popping out of the water was so freaking cool. Again, I recognized it from Smash Bros. Leave me alone. Also, I liked Steven and his Pidgeot. I mean, Metagross. Team Aqua was a fine team. Kind of middle of the road for me, though. Although they were a bit scary, considering they were trying to flood the Earth, but other than that, a lot of it's just go here, fight this, take out these bad guys, who cares? The gyms were pretty boring. My dad's a deadbeat who left me, but I became the champion anyways. Overall, pretty great game. So, when I started playing Pokemon Black, I was unfortunately used to a system called EXP Share, which is very rampant in the newer games. Basically, every Pokemon on your team gets EXP even if you aren't, like, fighting with them at the time. So, not having that feature when I started playing Pokemon Black was a little bit rough, to be honest. I figured out about halfway through the game that I could collect one EXP share and equip it to one Pokemon, and I missed it. So I backtracked for it. Anyways, I chose Snivy for my starter, grass type, because I wanted to pick something different. I was planning on doing the water type, grass type, and then a fire type. I named it Broa. Side note, I wanted to name it Bananaconda, but there weren't enough characters for that name, so... R.I.P. Bananaconda. Pokemon Company, can you please make that a Pokemon? I would cry. Onward we went to our adventure against our two rivals. That's right, everybody. I'm adventuring with Bianca and Karen. Karen? Whatever. It's honestly nice to have two rivals because they have very different teams to fight. Bianca is this really sweet, wholesome rival that helps you along on your journey, and Karen, or whatever the frick his name was, is kind of more your typical rival that will fight against you, but no one's mean to you outright, you know? I think the thing that makes this game stand out would be the story. It is, by far, the most interesting thing that the Pokemon Company has ever made. You're abusing your Pokemon by keeping them in their balls. Let them roam free in the wild. Release the Pokemon. Of course this game takes place in America. N. Everybody loves N. He's a pretty cool character. I mean, he took me out on a Ferris wheel date, so we're tight now, right? I kind of like the idea of him being raised by these crazy dudes, and all he wants to do is just talk to you and hear your ideology and compare it to his. I thought that was hilarious. Getsis was a very interesting villain as well. But the rival team! Oh my gosh! So groovy! No other rival team was better than Team Plasma. Their theme was kick butt. I loved their entire motive, and they added to the storyline so well. The music in the Pokemon games is always pretty good, but this one really stood out to me. Especially the low HP music. I maybe heard it a lot while playing this game. The other thing I liked were the actual gyms. One of them was literally just a roller coaster in a building. I think that was the electric type gym. It wasn't just, here's a building with ice in it. It's the ice type gym. Instead it was like, go into this underground cave and fight all these adventurers and then ride an elevator out of there. It's like an excavator thing. Like, what? Insane. But the Pokemon you could catch, there were some good ones. Just maybe not my team. Okay, I'm a little bitter, okay? I spent 3 hours trying to catch a very specific Sigilif because I wanted a Psychic type for my team, and I wanted a certain ability on it. It took so freaking long. In addition to, you know, my Sigilif and my Snivy, I had a Toxicroak named Puddles, Mystique the Krokorok, Ashlyn the Chandelure, freaking love Chandelure, and Tusk the Haxorus. This team was also the only harem team I ran with, my starter Broa and the ladies. Not a bad team, but it took a while for them to be good. Maybe I was used to how easy Alpha Sapphire was. Maybe I had bad luck, but Mystique and Tusk could never take more than one hit before dying, until they were like level 50 and fully evolved. They were the reason I heard that low HP music so much. I will say though, I just have terrible luck with most Pokemon games. In Pokemon, the move Confusion has a 50% chance to damage yourself with the move instead of attacking who you choose, and I, for some reason, would be confused and slap myself 4 turns in a row. They fixed this percentage in later games to be only a 33% chance, but I still find myself smacking myself very often while playing, which does not help the already brutal difficulty of some fights in these games. The Elite Four in Black were also way more challenging than in the previous game. You can tell because I didn't even mention the previous game's gyms or Elite Four, because they were a cakewalk. I also got lost way more easily in Pokemon Black, but we can probably blame that on me not paying attention. I relied on my friend a lot while trying to navigate through this game. Thanks, friend! Onward to Pokemon Fire Red, the most iconic Pokemon game, which I played the entirety of while working at my previous job. Listen, I had a lot of downtime. What was I supposed to do? My homework? Nah, I was playing Pokemon and watching Evangelion. Look, I didn't get fired, okay? This was also the first game I ever found a shiny in. And I didn't know it, and I accidentally killed it, reset, thought the new one was the shiny, looked it up, found out I killed a shiny, then cried, and told my friend. It was a shiny Zapdos too, in case you were wondering. Fire Red is the quintessential Pokemon game. It's got Pikachu, and Snorlax, and Jigglypuff, and Eevee, and Puffy. All of the original 151 Pokemon that most people know, and that many fans grew up with. It felt nice to actually recognize these guys while strolling around in the main world. I gotta say, this game also contains my favorite Pokemon team that I put together because I named them all after a certain team. So, as per usual, I left my single mother's house, and I met my rival, Frank, who thought his hot sauce was supreme. So I made a team based off of various hot things and things that beat the heat. I finally took my first fire-type starter, Sriracha, the Charizard. I also added Gochujang the Nidoking, Margarita the Lapras, Boom Boom the Jolteon, and Coco Curry the Executor to the team. But the best, hands down, was Papa Spicy the Snorlax. So I knew I wanted a Snorlax, and apparently there's a Chinese restaurant in Canada called Papa Spicy, and suddenly I knew exactly what my Snorlax's name was going to be. Listen, Frank may have been a big bully, but I bullied him harder. My team was stacked. He was done for. This game, though, whew. If I was getting lost in Pokemon Black, I was even more lost in Pokemon Fire Red. So, I didn't have a map. Apparently that was my fault that I didn't have a map. What I was supposed to do was, after Frank runs off, he tells me that I shouldn't go to his house and take the map from his sister. I didn't like Frank. You think I wanted to go to his house and have to talk to his sister? Turns out, that is what you are supposed to do, and if you don't do that, you just don't have a map for the rest of the game. Unless you go back there and grab it. It's extremely hard to navigate if you don't have a map. I just assumed there wasn't one, until I got the HM for Fly, and then realized. I also couldn't figure out where Team Rocket's hideout was for a while. That was annoying. Team Rocket's leader was pretty cool for a villain, but outside of that, I think the team was just okay. I'm sorry, not getting to fight the real champion and instead having to fight freaking Frank was really stupid. It bothered me way more than it probably should have. Listen, I know they were only in the anime, but I'm fighting Team Rocket. I wish I could have fought Jesse and James. That's probably the only good thing to have come out of the Let's Go series from what I've heard. They added them, but eh. I was way more prepared for the level grinding in this game after playing Pokemon Black, so it didn't feel too tedious. Although, in retrospect, I was also literally getting paid to play this game at work, so I just be a little bit biased. The gaming arcade can go screw right off, though. That was just not fun. Having to spend like 2 hours to actually get the amount of coins, because you have to farm in there, is stupid. The gyms weren't really anything special, just typical basic puzzles and stuff. But this game kind of felt like walking through a museum. So many pieces of history, so many areas of the Kanto region originated from Red and Blue, so I felt very happy to be playing this game at long last. Especially since this was the era that so many Pokemon gamers started out with. I might not have been playing this game legally, though. Shh, it's okay. It's hard to get a copy of Pokemon Fire Red. On to Pokemon Shining Pearl, which I think had some of the highest highs and arguably the lowest lows in the series. Starting off with one of my least favorite teams. Frick, I always forget the name of this one. Ah, yes, Team Galactic. They really didn't do much of anything in this game, in my opinion. Like, yeah, Cyrus wants to recreate the world with Palkia and destroy it, but, like, he's very bad at it. At least Team Aqua and Team Plasma were more threatening, and Team Rocket were like the mob. Cyrus just sort of showed up occasionally, only to get pelted by my Pokemon. Barry, my rival, can't do anything to me, and is just annoying, and running around and talking way too much. So, I haven't mentioned the champion in each game, mostly because I didn't care about most of them, and in some of the games you don't even get to fight them. But Cynthia was a pretty cool champ. I get why people like her. I also totally bodied her first try, so y'all need to get good, scrubs. I see people complaining online about how hard she is to beat, and I, a Pokemon noob, destroyed her party. Wait, what was my party? That's not important.
Because I had arguably the most goated Pokemon party doesn't mean I had an easier time.
Truthfully, what happened was my friend knew she was gonna be hard and tried to coach me for Cynthia, and accidentally made me level up like 10 levels too high, and I still barely beat her. A very good challenge overall, but like, come on, Pokemon Company. Maybe make this a little bit easier for the children. Despite my love for Shining Pearl, my team in this game was probably my least favorite that I've created. I did finally fulfill my childhood dream of getting a Piplup. I have adored this Pokemon since I first laid eyes on it. I named him Clippin, after the penguin from Billy Hatcher. I also got Allegra the Roserade, Garchomp, whose name I now forget, and a Mischievous, whose name I now forget. Wait, no, I remember. Okay, it was Jawbreaker, the Garchomp. Oh yeah, I liked him. He was pretty strong. And Marilyn was the name of the Mischievous. I think I named her after the witch from Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Alright, so, funny story. I also had a Weavile. And when I caught him, and my friend asked, what are you gonna name him? I said, Squeeva. Because I thought that was his name from Smash Brothers, so...
See, I swear it sounds like he says Squeeva, so... Meet my boy!
Going up against Cynthia only for her to hear my character shout, "Go, Squeeva!" right before her Garchomp gets destroyed was probably hilarious to her. Oh, I didn't forget about the last party member, trust me. This particular party member has a story. If I spent 3 hours catching a Sigilif in Pokemon Black, I think I spent twice as long trying to catch a Togepi. I did find a way to catch them, but I couldn't get one with the right ability for so long. Dudes, I think I just have chronically bad luck in Pokemon, because there's a 50% chance of getting Hustle, and a 50% chance of getting Serene Grace, and of course, I kept rolling wrong. To the point where, when I finally got one with the right ability, and didn't realize it, I just had been naming Togepi whatever stupid names I wanted, because you can't check the ability till after you catch them, so... Ladies and gentlemen, meet the most distinguished Togepi, Egg McMuffin. Yeah, he was definitely the fan favorite, aside from Inoki the Breloom. So how did I get Togepi, you might ask? What sort of crazy technique did I have to find this Pokemon in the wild? I spent time running around in the underground, the best part of Pokemon Shining Pearl! I kid you not, I spent way more time in here than I did in the main game, and I am not ashamed. It is by far the best side mode I've encountered in the Pokemon series. You can catch loads of Pokemon, mine for stones, you can trade stones with trainers. Move aside cute contests and gambling addictions, I want to mine for Pokemon stones and encounter rare Pokemon. Also, you can control like which ones you encounter because you can see them roaming in the wild as opposed to like in the grass. So that was really cool. Finally, we have Pokemon Scarlet. The one that everybody shits on, and for why? Yes, the graphics glitch sometimes, and look terrible, but I think that's just part of its charm. Jumping up mountains backwards and seeing Pokemon disappear into the ground mid-battle will always be hilarious for me. So when I started this game, I was worried that I was going to be burnt out on Pokemon, especially since I had just beaten Fire Red and Shining Pearl maybe like 2 months before that. But thankfully, Pokemon Scarlet delivered arguably the most unique gameplay I've experienced in a Pokemon game yet. Why? Well, similar to the Underground, in the previous game, there's just no more sudden grass battles. Instead, you can just see all of the Pokemon in the wild, and you can catch them however you want. This changes so much for people. Now, you don't have so many mindless battles. Also, you go to school, which is new, but honestly, that's not really that important. Just know that you have school, you have teachers, classes, support conversations with people, and you can skip them if you want. Skip school, play Pokemon! Woo! Essentially, there are 3 storylines in this game, which is ambitious. Take on the gyms with Nimona, your rival. I'm gonna be honest, I've never called her that. I have always called her Pneumonia, because I think that's funny. You can fight Team Star with Cassiopeia, the mysterious, faceless person. And you can help Arvin heal his dog with drugs. You know which one was my favorite. This made for a very different gaming experience compared to the previous entries, because typically it's just follow the path to the next gym and then like fight the thing, and just it's very linear. But here it's like, welcome to freedom, kids! You can run wherever you want! In addition to that crazy change, you can take on any gym in any order. Within reason, though. The levels are still scaled like normal, so if you accidentally run into Larry, the normal-type gym leader, and your team's only level 20, well, that's your fault. There is a technical, correct way to play the game based on how each area is leveled, and that's what I stuck with to avoid any annoyances with leveling up. Some people play differently. This was just what made me the most comfortable. The other change to the gyms is that you would have to take on a specific gym challenge before you can take on the gym leader, which ranged from kicking an olive into a goal, to a fetch quest, to grab ingredients, to doing therapy dances. Yep. Kind of a lame most of the time, but it was different from just fighting 4 trainers and then the leaders, so I'll take it. The gym leaders themselves were all really cool, and I personally think a lot more memorable. We've got a baker who's obsessed with bugs, a chef, Twitch girl that the internet is now obsessed with, androgynous snowboarder that the internet is now obsessed with, this beauty queen with her crazy company, this emo artist person, a ghost rapper? Like, somebody who raps that's obsessed with ghosts, I guess? I don't know. And the crowd favorite, Larry. He's a salaryman who's way too tired and overworked to be the normal-type gym leader in addition to his day job. Everybody loves him. He's relatable. Fighting Team Star with Cassiopeia was very lame, though. Team Star is arguably the worst team I have encountered yet. I did not care for the story whatsoever, but at least the leaders were interesting. We've got the hot-headed, hot topic high boots girl, pizza delivery guy. I mean a DJ. He definitely doesn't deliver pizza, and I thought he delivered pizza.
I want my pizza.
Fighter girl who wears face paint. Androgynous graffiti guy. Man, Pokemon really went androgynous this game, huh? And my personal favorite, the guy who thought he wouldn't get bullied for using exclusively fairy types. Yeah, that's right, you sicko. You deserve all the bullying you had back at school. The saving grace of this story was Clive, your super cool fella who helps you fight along the way. I kinda wish we saw him more outside of this storyline, though. Oh well. Meanwhile, the entire time I was playing the game, in the other stories, I was just waiting to come back to Arvin to help Mabostif get strong. His story was surprisingly very deep, and I think caught everybody by surprise, honestly. His hot MILF cave woman mom abandoned him for the sake of Pokemon research, so it was just him and Mabostif his whole life. I wish I could say more about this, but like, what is there to say? You fight giant Giga Pokemon, get drugs, throw it on a sandwich, feed it to Mabostif and your pet Koraidon, and get them both stronger. It's great. Character development! Woo! The Elite Four was a huge surprise in this game too, as I saw some familiar faces walk in, like some of my teachers from school, and Larry? No wonder he's so tired. He's working as the normal type gym leader, the flying type Elite Four leader, and he works a 9-to-5 salary job shift. Better be getting paid well. And getting overtime. And like, he deserves a vacation, or maybe a night out on the town, or a nap. Jeez. The champion was weak. I mean, with how common EXP shares are in this game, it's easy to level up your entire party. I one-shot her entire party easily, not even worthy of a mention of her name. Oh my gosh, I haven't even talked about my party yet! I took Fuecoco, because duh. And I named him Fajita. I also collected a Pawmi named Piri Piri, a Nacili, a Naturally, Nixil, it's the salt rock, named Soul. I caught a Fido named Churro, and a Gigachad Palfin named Paella. Ooh, I'm sorry. Was that too much? I'm not apologizing for that. But my personal favorite, hands down, this is also one of my new favorite Pokemon, was my Scovillain that I caught. First of all, fire grass type. That's just dope. And I named him Jalapenos. Like, look at him! He's 2 jalapenos! That's so adorable! Probably my best Pokemon name. Well, okay, Egg McMuffin might still be my best Pokemon name, but I don't really want to spoil the post-game for Scarlet since it's still decently new, but my gosh, it's fantastic. Easily a highlight of the game for me. The Pokemon you can catch there are really cool, and I also helped Arvin process / heal from his family trauma. It was a good time! Oh yeah, Pneumonia and Penny came with us for fun. Oh, frick, I haven't mentioned Penny till now. She's like this little mousy girl at your school who's obsessed with EVs and also is a Hot Topic girl. She's pretty cool. Man, I wish Clive could have come along with us, though. He was way cooler than her. Attention, attention. There has been an update. Like, literally, a DLC came out for Scarlet and Violet. I finally caught a shiny. And I didn't even have the shiny charm, so it was full odds shiny. One day, I was walking through a forest in the DLC, and I saw a 2-colored Hatterene, when it's normally 3 colors. Which, by the way, this looks sick as heck. I caught it, and nearly cried. I also made my friend incredibly jealous, since that's one of their favorite Pokemon. Anyway, Sakura the Hatterene's pretty dope, right? In the end, Pokemon's fun. Each game brings something unique to the table. But at the same time, at the end of the day, a lot of them are pretty similar. So if you're interested in the series, just get whatever is convenient from you. Except for Pokemon X or Y, apparently, because that's why my brothers never got into the series. They started with that one because they got it for free, and apparently that generation's terrible. Could have grown up with the series, but no. Although, honestly, I probably would have been frustrated playing this game as a kid, so it's okay. Thank you to my friend for gifting me Pokemon Sapphire. You created a monster.